This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Eva Fulton. In this show, we explore the incredible journeys of resilience, healing, and transformation. In each episode, we will sit down with individuals who have faced unimaginable struggles and turned their pain into power, heartbreak into hope, and their challenges into meaningful change and finding new purpose in life. Through candid conversations and inspiring stories, we will uncover how pain, whether emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, can be the catalyst for profound growth and a deeper sense of purpose. So if you are looking for motivation, insight, and real stories of triumph over adversity, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey from pain to purpose. Let's give veterans a voice through Military Broadcast Talk. Hey, welcome everybody. We made it. We're already in March, folks. Look at this. March 7th, the year of our Lord, 2026. I think this is going to be like one of those years that are just going to really speed by faster than we can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I don't know. That just came on my head. You know, I'm in my truck. I had an event to go to today, learning some new skills, and you know that's always good. Like that's not something new for me, but I did come prepared. Brought my laptop with me just in case. You know, it worked out this way. I'm kind of glad because I was able to stop by Costco and get a couple of things. It was a madhouse in there. But you know, that's just the way Saturdays are sometimes. And, you know, I stay with my dad here in Maryland. And so getting into the city sometimes, even though I work in DC, is not something that I get to do very often. So it's kind of nice to do that. So to kind of pivot, you know, good news on my dissertation. Chapter 3 has been approved, so I will be, as soon as I get back to the house, I'll get to submit the proposal. So that's chapters 1, 2, and 3. So I'm pretty excited. I tell you guys and share because I, you know, feel like this is how I help hold myself accountable and, you know, maybe help encourage, inspire somebody else in their educational journey. My guest today was supposed to join a couple of weeks ago, but y'all probably saw that that's where I decided to go ahead and tell my story. And I'll be very honest with you. You know, I think in many ways it opened up a path for me to be a little bit more vulnerable myself. And I think for us to have, you know, the right kinds of conversations and help take away stigma of, you know, domestic violence in any shape or form, because it does happen both to women and to men. You know, we have to have some of these uncomfortable conversations and share our stories, because otherwise how do we turn this from a pain to purpose story? And I'm sorry, I'm hot. If we are not, not having the kinds of discussions we ought to be and feeling free to do that. So I met Elaine Davidson several years ago. She doesn't realize how much of an influence she had on my life, which was in a very trying time. My second husband had just passed away. And I saw a post on Facebook about, hey, we're offering veterans to come and work for us, and you can get cash paid. And, it was less than the 1099 requirement. And little does Elaine know that she helped me buy Christmas presents several years. And I don't know where I would have been at that time, and being a mother and being able to provide the things that I thought I was supposed to provide my kids going through these trying times. But Elaine has done a lot for the veteran community in North Texas. And so I'm very, happy to bring Elaine on and share her story, because that's what we have to do, right? We have to have these kinds of conversations. So
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
hi, Elaine.
Hi there, Eva. My goodness. Thank you for the warm welcome. And thank you for sharing that with me. That meant so much to me to hear that. You don't know what these things mean when I get to hear, a way that we have positively helped somebody. So thank you for that. I will treasure that. That's very, very meaningful. And as you mentioned, we are so happy to help veterans and help. We have such a tremendous, tremendous respect for the veteran community and for the sacrifices that they've made for the freedoms that we enjoy. And I'm highly reverent to our veteran community. And so anytime we get a chance to help them in any way, whether it be a fundraiser that we're doing or whether it be hiring some of them or giving them a place, if you will, I'm always happy to do that. And we have several that work with us, and I'm very blessed and fortunate for that. So thank you for allowing me to come on and to share my story. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I got to go to your house one year, and the love that I think that I saw with your company, the devotion, right? There was lots of loyalty. There was lots of fun. I got to go to some neat places that, to work. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting to do this.
Thank you. It is so much fun. So for those who don't know who I am, my name is Elaine Davidson, and I'm the CEO of eCasino Events. And I am somebody who has been a lifelong Texan. So I do slip into my Texas accent occasionally, especially when we talk about some of the difficult things. So just bear with me. If I do, it just is because I am such a generational Texan and I can't help it. I do certainly have a love for what we do, but that love was born out of pain. So, we unfortunately have to talk about some of these things. But one of the things that I have learned along my journey is that the strong ones, we don't know how to ask for help. And I think that if that's something that I can help someone else with today, then I have served my purpose. So to give you some background information, as a child, I didn't fit in, and I was bullied, and I went through some pretty traumatic things as a child. I don't want to go that far back because we only have a short amount of time, but because I do have some childhood trauma, I carried that with me into adulthood. So I met my husband, and, we had this passion and this deep love for each other, and things were pretty smooth. And then one day they weren't. And I can remember that the first time that he ever hit me, and I can remember how I felt. And because I'd had that childhood trauma, I believed that it was me, and I needed to just stand down, and I needed to back off, and it was my fault. And I internalized that. And I continued to internalize that every time that he did something after that. And as we continued in the relationship, children became involved. Thankfully, nothing ever happened in front of them. I'm grateful for that. But he did progressively become more aggressive. There was other mitigating factors, and that will be his story to tell, not mine. I'm going to stick to my story. But we ended up in a situation where he was arrested. He had nearly killed me. I was violated to a point where I was brutally beaten down my back, and I had been choked to the point of passing out. And I woke up, and he was still enraged and had to do that. And then he finally stood down and went and sat down. And that was the day that I'd had enough. So I went and called 911, and he was arrested. And at that time, my entire life was turned upside down, because the business was something that we had done together, and we have children together. We have this house together. We have a life together. And now all of a sudden he's gone, and I'm alone in this house. So the first thing that I want to speak to is the loneliness that leads us to that place. And as strong people, and I think that this will really apply to veterans, I'm a CEO. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm the mother for everybody in the organization. I always tease around and say I'm the chief emotional officer, because I know what everyone is going through. And I'm internalizing everything that everyone else is going through.
Right.
Come to me, I need an advance, or can you give me more work, or I'm having trouble with this, or whatever the situation was. I always knew about it, but nobody knew what was going on with me.
Right.
And so at that point, I knew that it was going to come out. I knew that there was one chance and one chance only as to how this was going to be portrayed, if you will. And so I chose the path of truth, and I chose the path of openness, and I chose the path of transparency. So I shared with my team what had happened, and that I would need to rely on them. I was emotionally devastated. I had covered for him for many years and allowed him to disrespect me in immeasurable ways. So to come to a point where it was finally enough, and I finally had enough self-love for myself that I could find that spot, just finding that moment and realizing that I am a human being, and I'm worthy of value. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of respect. And finding it in that moment is very, very difficult, but you have to find it for yourself.
Right.
And I did. And so I shared with my team what had happened, and he remained in jail. And then we have this thing called COVID that comes along, as you recall, in 2020. And as an event business, COVID and events did not go hand in hand. And overnight, I lost 96% of my business overnight. Yeah. So that was devastating. And he had been released. And guess where he was released to? He was released to home. And now we have a shelter in place order. So now he is sheltering in place with me, and I'm in this house with my abuser. He's still my husband, and we tried to continue through that and make it as best we could through incredible stress. So how do you continue to allow yourself to be in the presence of someone who has almost taken your life? Right. And how do you hold that in? And how do you find the respect that you need for yourself to move forward? And the answer is that you start to compartmentalize things. A good friend of mine says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I know I'm not in the habit of eating elephants, but but were I to be, the answer is one bite at a time. And so I prioritized my physical health and kept my distance. I prioritized trying to pivot and save the business as best I could. And I threw everything that I had into it. And that's how the business became the largest and most successful casino entertainment company in the country. Because from my trauma, I threw myself into it because I could
Yeah.
find love and satisfaction in different ways. So I found it through the business. I found it through the people we served. I found smiles on attendees' faces. And I found contentment in knowing that just like your story, others had told me, Elaine, this money tonight is going to feed my family,
Yeah.
or this is my rent money. And I
Yeah.
knew that people were counting on me. Well, now we come to COVID and everybody's counting on me and looking at me, and I have no answers. So we
Right.
decided to pivot and we went to virtual. We started doing some little virtual bingos. I worked with him and we continued to do virtual casino things. And we would go on my Facebook and just play blackjack with people online. And we turned that into
Wow. I must have missed that.
it was fun. And so we ended up being able to pivot to virtual events. And we started getting some income derived from that. And the government did come in and offer some things that were helpful. And I will forever be indebted to our president at the time, who took care of small business and looked at things from a perspective of how small business is the backbone of America, and how these hardworking entrepreneurs who you see, you never know the story behind what got them there or how they stay there. It's one thing to climb the mountain to get there. It's quite another to stay there. So here we are in COVID. We've lost 96% of our business. I'm in a stressful situation as it is because I'm sheltering in place with my abuser. And now I have to pivot and find a way to do this. So I worked tirelessly and I became a workaholic, but I poured myself into the business. And as soon as things opened, we were in a unique position to open and be top of mind and top of page. And we were the go-to provider until in 2021, we have COVID part 2. And in 2020, justice was delayed. Remember, he'd been arrested. Charges had been filed against him. And we had justice delayed. We had justice delayed again in 2021. And it wasn't until 2022 that he finally saw court. He was placed on probation and given an opportunity, one last opportunity to do right. So sadly, he did not choose that door. And sadly, we had another incident. And this was the final straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
So he was violated again, and this time he was gone for good. So they took him in, and now I was left devastated. It was a pretty intense incident that had happened at the house. My kids had been locked in the car. I said, if mom does not come out the next 5 minutes, then call 911.
Oh.
If dad comes out and mom doesn't, call 911. It was that serious. And so needless to say, I survived that. 911 was able to capture the call that I was able to make. And in the end, he was taken, and this time for good. So he was ultimately sentenced to 5 years. And so now I am running a business alone. Now it's a very, very big business and a lot to manage. I'm now also a single mom, and I have the needs of children that I have to take care of. And because they had been locked in the car and had seen their father carted off in handcuffs, there were some things that we had to do. So the reason we were in the car to begin with is we had to go for a very, very important client to an event in California. And now we have 26 hours prior to the event. It's a 22-hour car ride.
Wow.
One of my people who was strong and loyal came through for me and helped us get there. And I will always be grateful to him for doing that. And we made it out to California, and we had one heck of a party for this client. And I was numb. I was in shock. My kids were in shock. We were just traumatized beyond all recognition at this point. But that night, nobody knew it. And so after that event, I broke. I broke.
I could imagine.
Because you eventually do. And for those of you who think you won't, you will. And I broke. And so now I'm in California. He's in jail. And I don't know the condition of my house because he was throwing things and breaking windows. I don't know the condition of my house. I don't care. I'm on the floor in fetal positions trying to just pick up what I can and trying to love on my kids. And during this time period, we had been sued by another entity that had the same name of the business that I'd had. They were in another state, and they had filed a trademark on the name, and they sued me. And we didn't answer. We didn't show up in court. And so they were awarded something called a default judgment. And the result of that default judgment was that overnight, this business that feeds my family, that I had turned to escape from all the trauma, was now cruelly taken from me.
Wow.
And now I've lost the business. I've lost the name. I've lost the website. This is a business that we'd had for 15 years. It was registered properly. You know, I was known by this name. We had chosen the name because it begins and ends with E, just like my name does. We had chosen it very specifically, or I had anyway. And so it was my third child. And so now my husband is gone. My business is gone. And I'm in California with my girls and trying to figure out what to do. I will tell you that for those of you who feel like you've lost everything, you haven't lost everything until Child Protective Services calls and wants to do an inquiry about your children because they can hear them screaming on a 911 call. So I had to fight CPS, all while the business was falling apart. And the people that were counting on me didn't know what to do. We had parties that we still had contracts for. How are we going to get through this? What are we going to do? And so once again, as I had in the past, I turned my trauma into triumph and took the name and changed it and started over, telling people that we had to change the name, the inevitable questions of why, where is he? Why isn't he here? And the questions that you have to answer. So again, I chose the path of transparency, and we talked openly about it. And the people that had sat there and collected checks from me, or the people who had sat there and clapped while we succeeded, were now whispering about me in the corners. So imagine trying to pick everything up, be a single mom.
Yeah.
You've lost everything. You've lost, money, reputation, name, credibility, livelihood. You've lost your husband. You've lost your person who you thought was your person who wasn't. And now you've lost your health because your health is now affected by all the stress that is going on. And you've lost your mental wellness because it's too much for one person. It's just too much. So what ultimately happened is I broke. I had great people that were around me. I told them the truth about what was going on, and we rallied to rebuild. And we started over. We saved what we could. We started over. And here we are. And the great thing about it is that I've had the chance to rebuild it and to do it with as much integrity as I possibly can and to do it right. And the things that I got wrong the first time, I get a chance to do right now. And so there is some blessing that comes from it. And while he was gone, I stayed in contact with him. because he's still the father of my children.
Right.
And I feel it's very important for children to have relationships with their parents. And so he was visited. We put money on his books. We took care of him because I wanted to show people who I was. It wasn't about him, it was about me. Having integrity in the situation and setting that example for the people around me and for my kids. So, being in that situation, I got to go down to the prison that he was in, and I got to sit there for 2 hours and tell him every little thing that he ever made me feel. And it was freeing. And that was the beginning of my mental wellness journey. So after trying to figure it out and realizing I couldn't, and realizing that everything was so overwhelming for me, I knew I needed help. And thankfully, I found it. It came in the form of the most magical and serendipitous way. Someone who attended an event of ours looked at me and said, "I sense that you are someone in pain. And it may be beyond my business, but I just want to tell you that if this applies to you, I know someone who might be able to help." And he gave me the phone number of a therapist and said that this therapist had helped him tremendously. So I reached out and I left a voicemail. Didn't hear anything. I thought, oh goodness, this is not as serendipitous as I thought. So I sent an email and said, "Hey, I think I really need help. Someone who is pretty much a stranger to me could see it. And so if they're seeing it, the people close to me must be. Can you help me?" And I got a call back and I started therapy. And that began a journey. So I've left some things out because there's, again, only so much time. And I don't want to dwell on the negativity. But I will say that the journey for me to wellness included physical surgeries that I had to have to repair some of the trauma that had been created by him laying his hands on me. And so I had a physician that said, "Hey, we need to lose some weight. And hey, we need to work on some things." So we started a weight loss journey and we started a wellness journey, just eating better foods and trying to take better care of myself. And at the end of every doctor's appointment, he would say, "I love you. Even though I don't think you love yourself, I still love you." So that was the beginning. And he made me believe in myself. And so he's still my doctor today. I've lost 137 pounds without ever taking any kind of Ozempic or any of that.
Wow.
It's prescribed to me. It's sitting in my fridge, but I've never used it.
You look amazing because I saw you at your house and you look amazing.
Well, thank you, hon. I appreciate that. So I still have a ways to go, but we have lost a lot of weight naturally through just curating better decisions. You always say it's not what you're eating, it's what it's eating you. And that couldn't have been further from the truth for me. So losing him and getting a sense of doing it on my own, my body withdrawing from trauma and resetting itself, going in and actually caring a little bit more about myself, and then starting to incorporate the mental wellness part of it and admitting that I needed help was the hardest thing to do. Because, and I think this will be so applicable to the military community. We're the strong ones, we're the leaders, we're the ones that people depend on. We're the ones that people are counting on. And if I fail and I don't do my job, then the people behind me don't have one. And, there's a weight that comes with knowing that. And it sits right here on your shoulders. And for me, it kept me going at 2 o'clock in the morning when I wanted to shut the laptop and go to bed. But I knew I needed to do this one more thing. I did the one more thing because I knew that I had these people depending on me. And
Right.
it drove me, and I started channeling that into something that was more positive. So I went on antidepressants. I started admitting that I needed them and taking them. And taking them, it's one thing to get prescribed them, it's quite another to actually
Right.
take them. And having the strength at every step to do that. You know, I can remember sitting in the parking lot of the pharmacy and crying because I was just so depressed that I was depressed about being depressed. I was depressed about having the need to go and get medication that this couldn't be resolved naturally or on its own. And so I can remember feeling that and going through all those things. But I'll tell you, God is with me at every step. My faith in God is what got me through. My faith in God is the reason I'm still here. The faith in God and love for my children. And so picking up every single piece was very difficult, especially at every turn that I have had in the road. But I'm trying to do it for them. I want them to have something that they can be proud of, and certainly something that earns income so they can eat and enjoy
Right.
the things that we take for granted. And moving forward now, I am with therapy once a week. I go to see my physician once a month, and I have a team of people that I put my trust and my faith in. And I went to full transparency mode because I just didn't have any other mode to go to.
Yeah.
And it's a decision that I will always be grateful for that I chose that path. So I think the moral of my story is it can happen to anyone. It can happen at any time. We can be fine one minute and not fine the next. Domestic violence, unfortunately, happens more prevalently than any of us want to admit. It happens for men just as much as, and not as much as it happens for women, but it does happen for men too. And I think men would probably have an even greater stigma.
Right.
Um, for women, they say that 1 in 4 of us will have encountered domestic partner violence in our lifetime. And there were headlines. We've seen them. Lacey Peterson, Nicole Brown Simpson, the list goes on. I was destined to be that headline. I was going to be that headline had I not had the strength to make the call and make it multiple times. It took multiple times, but I finally did. And so if there's someone out there that's going through it right now, people say, why don't you leave? Why don't you cut your right arm off? Why don't you stop breathing? This is your spouse. This is your person. And I'll tell you, if there had only been bad times, we wouldn't have this situation. There are
Yeah.
good times, and often there are children involved, and often there are other considerations, financial. There are financial considerations. There are spiritual considerations. There are, a lot of different things that go into it. But I hear that a lot. Why didn't you leave? I felt I couldn't. I felt I couldn't until I could. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of encouragement. So the answer is, for those out there, if you see something, say something. If you're seeing it, don't be afraid to encourage someone. Don't judge them, just encourage them. I saw something and I'm worried about you. That little thing can trigger a light and make someone feel like they are worthy and get them to think differently about the path that they're on. That's certainly something that happened for me. So if you see something, say something. And for those of you who are struggling with domestic violence that's happening to you, I can tell you that you're enough and that you're worthy and that you always have been. I can tell you that God loves you and you are God's child. And I can tell you that there is no one on the planet that would want to see you suffer. No one. But until you feel it, you won't change it. So, sister to sister, I send you love. And sister to sister, I tell you that you can do it.
Mhm.
You are worth it. You are worthy. And everything that you're going through right now is something that some other sister of yours has endured. So there is a uncomfortable sisterhood of us all, but we are here to help. There is a local shelter in Dallas called the Genesis Shelter, and we support them and we do fundraisers to try to help them. And now I get to turn my occupation into a way of helping others. So we can do fundraising events to try to raise money for people who are in these types of situations. In fact, we have one coming up at the end of the month that is very near and dear to my heart. It's a repeat client, and that is exactly what they do. They help the women in children's shelter, and it means so much to me. And I go and I give them every single thing that I have, and I walk that floor begging people to please support this charity. And it's my honor to do it. It's my honor to do it.
I think it's where a lot of people think, well, that's casino. So for folks to understand, Elaine's company is casino oriented. It's blackjack, it's poker. You also got the roulette table, I think. But all the events that I attended, these were all fundraiser events for
Yeah.
the Knights of Columbus. I think there were veteran events over there at Luffield, the big, I forget the name of the space museum that's over there,
Uh-huh.
the one with the
Yes.
old airplanes. So there are veteran events that, a lot of these companies, but I got to go to some neat places for-profit companies who are doing it as employee, Christmas and New Year's parties and stuff like that. But
Sure.
most of these events were off fundraising. I think the hardest part I could imagine, I've been a business owner as well, in a different industry, and the hardest part was um the mask. It's the figurative mask, and
Mhm.
not wanting to let other people see me fail, see me crack, show that vulnerability. But that's
Sure.
really hard to hide, and because people who know you, who really, really know you, they can see through they can see through it.
They can. And you're right. The mask, let's just say it. It is the elephant in the room. It's not on brand to share any kind of flaw in your business or to in any way suggest that you're anything less than completely and fully successful as a human being. The person who's leading this business has to be of sound has to be of sound mind and soul. We've seen what happens when you have people who are not, and we can see how we see how social media can attack a business when something's not right. We see how people can be degraded both privately and publicly for different things that happen. And so, it was a very, very precarious position that I was in, and a very easy choice for me to make because I knew that the information was going to get out there one way or the other.
Right.
And I had to control the narrative. And we do wear these masks, we wear these hats, but we also, you're right, we wear these masks, we hide certain things from people. And I didn't have a choice. My mask was cracked, in this case, quite literally and figuratively. There was one point where he had, there was one point where he fractured my orbital socket. So, my mask was both literally and figuratively cracked.
Yeah.
But, people do see it, but there's a lot of people that don't see it, but they can sense that something's off.
I
And
think
I
I
had,
sensed it, even as a occasional contractor, I sensed it, but I was not close. So it was difficult because I am an empath. I recognize that, that, I could sense that something was there, but the best I knew I could do was really, I prayed for you, Elaine.
well, thank
Seriously, you
you.
were on my prayer list.
I
Um,
appreciate that. And I
yeah,
do believe in the power of prayer, because the power of prayer has lifted me through this. And, the power of prayer has brought me to the point where I can speak to you about it. There was a period of time where I couldn't speak to anybody.
yeah.
I was balled up on the floor, crying and completely not functional. And
Oh,
I'm
for
not
sure.
saying that I'm still there. There are days where I'm still that person, and it takes tremendous strength to get up. I'm dealing with some physical symptoms of a disease that I now have that, it is debilitating, and it is incredible. I'm on powerful painkillers to try to just make it through the day. But the point of all of that is that you can make it. You just change the script. And I now no longer feel beholden to society's needs for what I should look like. I think once you go through this, I can reset what I am going to be to the world. And
Right.
I have the power to do that. And it's finding your power to do that. I don't feel now that I have to wear this mask. I feel like I can say to my people, I don't have it today, and I need you to have it for me. I do have the ability to say to my children, will you come pray with me, or can I snuggle with you? Can we watch a movie or something? Can I have some snuggle time? Can I have whatever it is?
Yeah.
Can we have a few moments together? And I find strength in that. So it's resetting everything. But one of the things that you're resetting is this enormous burden that society puts on us as women, as
Yeah.
moms, as workers, that we have to be this perfect example. And I'm here to tell you, I led a very huge company, and I was overweight, and I had pink hair at one point, and I had you don't have to have what they think you need to have. So have it within you and where your
Yeah,
comfort is, and let your comfort in your space and your place dictate who you are to the world. You get the chance to show the world who you are, and
right.
you don't have to be boxed into what they think you should be.
You
And
think the biggest thing I have learned in the last few years is I don't have to shrink.
that's right.
But I still, in some ways, I mean, I think part of it growing up, because we're the same generation, I felt like there was always that constant glass ceiling.
Mhm.
And I've had to kind of remove the construct of thinking that there's a ceiling there at all. Why not
That's
try this?
true.
Right?
That's true.
Why not get on the radio? Why not? I mean, the sky is only the limit if I choose to put that barrier there. And that's a
Or
choice.
believe that it exists. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
The moment that
It's
you
tough.
That's tough. That's very tough, because that's what we're taught, and that's what we grew up with, and that's kind of the box that I'm talking about breaking out of. Is that you can now control that. There is absolutely nothing you can't do, and I know this from our generation. I mean, for goodness sakes, we were drinking water out of hoses in the backyard and walking around in pesticide pellets, and I mean, we were, you know. I do believe that we're capable of anything, and the mind is a wondrous thing, and the mind can trick us at times.
For
And
sure.
so it is really coming to a point where you believe, um, don't believe the voices of what everybody else tells you. Believe the voice that's within,
Yeah.
and hear that voice. My voice was shrunk. I was definitely shrunk and put into a box of what he wanted me to be. And I allowed myself to be put into that because I believed, since he was my person, that the things he was saying to me must be true. The problem must be me. Surely it's me. Surely it's not
I went through
anything
the
else.
same thing. I went through the same thing.
And so
Why?
coming,
I mean,
coming out of that is hard because it's programmed almost. It becomes like the skin that you wear, and you believe that these things are your truth. And so once he was removed and I could see again, because
yeah.
he was removed, forcibly removed. Once I had that distance and I was left with myself, I could start to hear my voice again. And it was very, very faint. And then it became louder, and then it became louder. And now I'm working on it. And I am a work in progress. Every day is a new challenge and a new opportunity. I'm scared sometimes to get out there because I fear rejection. I'm scared to build my company up because I don't want to see something happen that I missed, or, I don't want to be picked on again. Not that I didn't deserve it. Not that, I'm not speaking to that. I'm not going to diminish anybody else. I'm just speaking that it was a really difficult thing to go through.
Okay.
And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And so there's a fear that comes where you think, gosh, I don't want to put myself out there. But I've learned that God put us on this planet to live, and that we only get one chance at it. And
Has it
so,
helped you to change the conversations you have with your daughters, that, helping you have, I want to say, like, more clear conversations with them about how to avoid this kind of situation as they age?
sure. And that's a great question. The greatest responsibility I have is to the people that I serve. And the people that I serve, first and foremost, are my children. And they are my greatest responsibility. And I have the choice here to to show them that just because their father happened to be this with me, didn't change.
One of us froze. I don't know if it's me or you.
Well, I'm here.
Okay, it's back.
Okay. So I get to show them what strength looks like. And I get to show them what we need to look for in partners, and, what not to look for in partners. So that's not a conversation that anybody ever had with me growing up. And it's not a conversation that we really have, period. I can't think of a time in society where we talked about it. We all went and saw a film about what to do with feminine products, but we never saw a film about we never saw a film. You remember when the guys went and played outside all day, and we saw the film, and we had to get permission slips and that kind of thing. So people today have no idea the struggle. But there's not a film out there that talks about how to treat and respect a future partner.
Right.
We're
But it
not
goes
teaching,
both ways,
we're not teaching our kids that. So
Yeah.
now I get the opportunity to teach them that. And I know for a fact that my kids are going to be some of the most well-adjusted children on the planet, because I chose transparency. And there's such a thing as too much transparency. I'm careful not to teeter across that line. But
Right.
I talk to them about the milestones. I give them choices. I talk about consequences. And we're talking. That's the most important thing. We're
Yeah.
talking. We put our phones down and we have conversations. And, so going through this was absolutely the worst thing that I could have gone through. But by the time my story is finished and my work on this earth here is done, I hope that the story will be that she went through hell, that she created heaven out of it. And so I hope that because I saw what hell looked like and that I didn't want to live there or stay there, I was able to create some happiness, and I was able to do something that changed someone's life in some way, some small way, and maybe bigger. So, our company, there's no actual gambling that happens. These are just themed events. That's all it is. It's no different
Right.
than a circus themed event or just a casino themed event.
Right. Right.
But people pay, to come. It's just like an adult Chuck E. Cheese. People pay X amount of money to go to a gala. They're going to get fed, they're going to get entertained, and then at the end of the night, they're going to go home. That's what we do. We just do it with a different theme. But I get to do things for some of the most revered and respected groups on the planet. And then I get to encounter some really cool people. One of the fundraisers that we did last year had a guy named Post Malone at it. I've done some events with some very big celebrities, and I've done some events for grandma's 80th birthday in the garage. And each one of them is special and unique in their own way. And I'm just so grateful that I get to do something that I love, and that I get to share that love with so many people. And I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for breath. I'm grateful that he wasn't able to take away my breath,
For sure.
and that I could find my voice. And now look, I get the opportunity to make an impact and to do something really cool and help other people. So that's my pain to purpose story, is taking attacks and taking trauma and taking stigma associated with all of that, and putting it in the vernacular and having difficult conversations and sharing it with other people. And even saying, doing simple things like, hey, let's just do a check-in today.
Yeah.
Today I'm 10%. Yesterday I was 150. Today I'm 10. And
Yep.
they know, okay, she's 10. So we're gonna be the other 90. And it's having those kinds of conversations. But the greatest thing about it is we're talking now. I'm talking to my kids. I'm talking to my people in my organization. I'm talking even to my clients, and it's a wonderful thing that I get to share my story. I'm excited that I got to share it with you today. And I hope that on some level it will find that one person that's sitting there in pain, unsure.
They're not alone. They're not alone.
They're not.
Yeah.
But you never could believe that someone else could go through that. Certainly someone of this stature or of this consequence. No, there's no way they can go through that. Yes.
And I think it happens, at the very low end of the income levels to the very high end of the income levels, that there is no exception that abuse doesn't happen. It is a choice. You had far more courage than I did at the time to make those kinds of calls,
Sorry to hear that.
Well, it was my second marriage, and I didn't, I had prosecuted. I was a paralegal in the Army, putting people away, and then in denial that it was happening to me, and somebody
Sure.
said, you probably qualify for victim witness protection. I'm like, wow, you don't want to put that label on, right?
No.
That you don't want to say, wow, I'm a victim. Who likes to claim that they're a victim?
It's not a badge that you want to wear. It's certainly not something
Right.
that I wanted. It's not the name tag that I wanted to wear walking in the room. It's not.
Right.
But in being a victim, I now get to control what the name badge is that I wear moving forward.
Yeah, because you're a
And
victor now.
I can change it. So, now I went from being a victim to helping others. And now I went from being, I was like you, I'm sitting here at these events that are designed to help other people who are going through similar things. And I'm in complete denial that it's happening to me.
Right.
That I somehow deserved it, that it was my fault that this happened. So, I think it's just the awareness, the discussion, the bringing it to light, that our lights will not be diminished, that we won't shrink, that there's a sisterhood out there, that there are people in the world that care, and that the more you can talk about it, the more you'll find kinship, and the more you'll find strength. I think those are the takeaways. And so it's finding that courage to have that conversation. And I hope that someone will find the courage to do something that will be life changing for them.
Well, I do want to help make sure that if people want to reach out to you, you've had your name, your phone number on the
Oh,
screen.
did I? I
Uh,
didn't. Oh, I see it.
yeah. What is a good website for you if, in case somebody's interested? Maybe they have a fundraiser, because we do have a veteran audience, and maybe they, need to know that there are entertainment options out there.
Sure. So if anyone ever wants to talk to me about this subject or about a way that we can help them in any way, our website is www.ecasinoevents.com. And I am the E in eCasino Events. So ecasinoevents.com. And our email is info@ecasinoevents.com. So people are welcome to reach out at any point, and I hope that I can help them in some way, whether it be through business or whether it be personally, and just saying, hey, it's okay that you're at 10 because I'll be at 90 for you.
It makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for sharing. I found through telling my own stories, this is a cathartic process, and, so reach out, folks. You're not going through this alone. Thank you so much, Elaine, for, coming on, right? And I appreciate your vulnerability, because this is, a very vulnerable topic to be able to share, and your candor and the love. You are an incredible person. So just know, you've been in my people garden, even if I hadn't said that before. You're in my people garden. And
Well, you're a sweetheart, Eva, and I have such respect for you. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I have such respect for our military and the people that are in your audience. So I send you all my love. Mwah. I send you all my love. And, I will continue to be a fan, and I will continue to fangirl you. And
thanks.
I'm
It's
going to
the
look
girl
forward.
crush thing.
It is, and I'm going to look forward to all these amazing subjects and amazing guests that you have coming out to showcase and help other people. So I think it's admirable that you have this mission, and that mission accepted. So congratulations.
Thank you. I know you have events to go to. Thanks
I
again. Yep. I'll make sure I tag you on all, when I share everything too. So.
Okay, great. Well, I
Right.
send my love again. Everybody have
All
a
right.
wonderful Saturday. Mwah.
You too. Bye. All right, folks. Thank you all. So coming up, we have John Davis is joining us from abroad. He's an expat. He's going to join us March 14th. And on March 21st, I will be remote from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with the Valkyrie Project. Have several of their board members, a couple board members, and a couple of their liaisons that are going to be joining, because it's the day before. Actually, at Fort Bragg is a military women's conference, and I think I get to meet a couple of other people that I've interviewed before, but we had never got to meet in person. So I'm excited about attending that event. And then Paula Yost is joining March 28th, Dr. Paula Yost. So she is going to talk with us about how to advocate for your children's health needs. And I think she covers other subjects as well, but that's the main subject that she's going to cover. It ought to be a great conversation, no matter whether you're a veteran or not. And that's important, because oftentimes, our kids go through different medical experiences, but how do we, and even my own daughter has gone through medical experiences, and I had to, because she was over 18, I had to interject myself and get her permission to let me help go to doctor's appointments with her, and, get them to help listen to me and not push her side. So great guests coming up. And then April 4th on, I don't have any guests scheduled, but I know there are plenty of people who need to tell their stories. So come on, reach out to me, eva@mbradio.us. You all have a fantastic week, and, be blessed. Giving veterans a voice. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.